Alright, alright. Shut up. Hello, I'm Chris Gobber, and this is, I'm going to do, well, sort of Jungian self-analysis. I had what I would describe as a interior experience, I suppose, if I had to describe it in any way. And I'm going to recount the experience that I had, which I stress wasn't a hallucination, wasn't a full-blown visual hallucination. It was a mental visualization, just a visualization, just an experience. So yeah, I mean, I'm not saying this is good, I'm not saying it basically was like I was hallucinating something, or that it was an internal experience, so a mental experience. I'm not nuts, basically. Beg my pardon. So I'm just going to recount the entire experience. I've written it down on my Facebook just so I can remember it all as much as I could. And then I'm going to do sort of a self-analysis after the fact of reading it. So I had an interesting but perplexing vision in my mind the other day. It was that modern or contemporary man in the emerging technological cage is becoming more like a man in a sphere or an egg-like container. Through this container, the man can augment himself, can plug into a system bigger than just himself, cyberspace, and use it as a weapon too. It was a vision of a sort of incubator. It was quite a grim vision in some ways, as the man was also trapped in this sphere without the ability to disconnect it. There was a lot of Deleuze and Guattari in this thought experiment, those being the postmodern philosophers. It was on one level interesting and another level extremely disturbing. There was also one point where I had a grotesque vision of this sphere being used as the most horrendous war machine I could conceive of, that being a container with a man in it. It's like a sphere with just a human being inside it. A sort of mech warrior which men augment with and fight each other in a high-tech prison. Pure mindless destruction. Horror, really. This doesn't, of course, represent any intentions in me, or I can't for sure say it represents anything even that is true. It's just, as they say, a vision. I think people without a developed visual imagination might seem insane. Maybe it is. It's the sort of shit I see when I close my eyes at the time in the right mood, so it's what it is. I can conjure up vistas of the most sublime and the most horrendous hellscapes at will, sometimes. It's a sort of skill, albeit a cursed one too. So that's just like I had to write that down quite fast. I just remembered all the surreal sort of aspects of this. I'd call it, like I said, I call it a internal visual experience. I wasn't like I was hallucinating anything in the external environment. It was like a completely just is a mental experience. I make a distinction here between hallucinatory experiences and interior mental visualization experiences, right? Which I think is an important distinction, because otherwise I think people might watch this and assume that I'm like schizophrenic, or that I'm imagining myself as this mech thing. No, it's not how I experience have these sorts of thoughts. As to what it represents, I'm going to do some self-analysis here. So obviously, I think on the Jungian sense, it represents a shadow side of my psyche, some sort of. So I have an engineering mindset, so in a lot of ways, it represents the dark side of any technology, right? Like, after all, I am a person who works on and develops and implements technology, but there is a dark side to that, of course. I mean, why do we have tanks? Why do we have AK-47s? Why do we have, weapons? That's the dark side of technology. technology has many positive aspects, right? And we are moving, after all, into a accelerated technological age. So it's natural that my subconscious would be ruminating on the darker applications of technology, such as AI, posthumanism, all that sort of thing. So this is a completely logical rumination to have. I will add as well that I was also slightly high at the time that I had this interior experience, as I call it. It wasn't particularly disturbing. Well, it was disturbing, the actual thought of it. It was a disturbing thought that I just played it out in my head. Obviously, I'm going to explore it probably through fiction or creativity. But essentially, it's just an experience, right? It's not like, it doesn't represent my will. It doesn't represent anything beyond just being a strange image. When I was thinking about all this as well, I was thinking about Leonardo da Vinci, for example. So relating this sort of thing to art, da Vinci, of course, was the original Renaissance man, the man of polymath of culture, as it were. But he also invented war machines, which were never really made, but that was part of his role when he was just earning his living, basically. That's how a lot of artists used to make their living, especially in the age of the Renaissance, right? Now we enter a new Renaissance, probably soon, like with the age of technology and AI. So yeah, I think in a lot of ways, the vision represented for me what I would consider Frankenstein applied technology, right? There's this, it's like it's Warhammer 40k style shit, right? Like, this human being, just in a sort of very cramped egg, using it as a weapon, right? It sounds horrific. I mean, when it felt completely, when I was identifying with because it wasn't me. It wasn't like it wasn't me that was inside this egg. And like I said, I've already said, like, I was not completely sober when I had this. It's all a metaphor, I think, really, for a way that technology can be applied, which is in the most disgusting, horrible way ever, which is for destructive purposes, of course. So I think that's what it was about. In terms of what it represented for me, I certainly have an attachment with technology, which can become unhealthy at times. So one way I could interpret it is my body, my mind telling myself to unplug a bit more, if you understand that. So by unplug, I mean obviously go out in nature more. There's something I require a lot anyway, is because I work on computers so much, because I work with technology so much, and I'm definitely struggling a bit at the minute with an over-attachment to technology. Today I'll probably go for a walk, get out of the house. That's the most important thing. I'm still poisoning my body a bit with smoking tobacco, so obviously that's something I need to work on individually, for myself, but that's not an easy thing to give up. So I think part of it maybe is sort of guilt about the fact that I'm still toxifying my own body. I'm trying to do a few things at the minute to work on that. Like I've got a training sword. It's just a wooden sword basically, and I've just started, as a form of exercise, trying to learn about sword technique. It's not because I want to go out with a sword and start as a pirate or something. It's nothing like that. It's just purely as an exercise for mental and physical discipline. I think there's nothing wrong with engaging that sort of like warrior mindset, as it were, if it's just for self-development, right? That's my honest view on that. But anyway, I thought we were going to analyse anything else in this. It's obviously a horrible vision. Like, my mind can conjure up very horrible things, but beautiful things as well. That's one of the drawbacks with the bipolar disorder I have, is the fact that I can create very beautiful images in artwork, but a lot of my artwork can be quite macabre at times, quite dark, and it helps though to have the art just purely as an outlet for that, because otherwise it can become, if I don't get the stuff out of my head, I guess, linger in my unconscious and not, sort of be unexpressed, which is not healthy actually for me, just as a human being, really. Anyway, I hope this thing I imagined never gets invented. It was like the most horrific transhuman war weapon one could ever imagine. Like literally human beings in metallic balls and shooting like at each other. It was all ridiculous. It's actually quite ridiculous when I actually think about it. Obviously, I mean, in a way, it would make sense, but it wouldn't make sense to in terms of as an actual applied technology. Like people. But why would you have people in it? That part doesn't make any sense. Obviously, I hate war. I don't want war. I think the greatest thing that human beings can achieve when they actually develop better technology is to stop wars. Just like that Buckminster Fuller quote, wars. We have enough money to make war a relic of the past. I mean, obviously, the reason why that it isn't a relic of the past is because there's this little thing, you might have heard of it, it's called the military-industrial complex. Shocking revelation, right? There's money in war. That's why it's still here. West always still exists. And yeah, obviously it goes beyond that, but there is money in weapons, there's money in the industrial process of making weapons. So that's why war still exists, because there's money in it. Now, humanity can transcend that, but we'd have to dismantle the military-industrial complex, and I'm not going to be able to do that in the next few minutes, theoretically, anyway. Anyway, sorry, that smoke is obviously getting to me. I think I'll leave the video at that. I just wanted to document some interesting, like I said, interior visual experience I had, and you can leave your thoughts below. Obviously, just be respectful. I mean, I'm sharing this precisely because I think these sort of dark imagination, maybe shadow work, if you want to call it that, of Jung and doing Jungian self-analysis is actually a worthwhile thing to do. And I'm gonna rest for a bit. It's a Sunday, so I'm just gonna take it easy. Just readjusting to a med. I missed it for a day or two, so I need to get back on it. And that's it, really.